thrilling episode of the Show. We are two geeks who talk about everything. My name is Aaron, and I'm joined, as always, by my cousin Landon.
Hello and good day.
We have been spacing out our releases for the last few weeks because Landon has been rude and just left the country for no apparent reason.
I fled. I fled the country.
Fled the country, took his wife, left his kids behind, got on a boat,
Oh
uh,
my gosh, that's true.
just
I did do
headed
that.
out. So, how was your anniversary trip? This is 20
Great.
years, right?
20 years. Yeah. Can you believe she put up with me for that long?
I
It's,
can't believe it's been 20 years, man. I
it's
don't feel old enough to have anybody in my family, of my generation, married for 20 years. But then again, I think, have I really been out of college for 20 years? Because as of this point, yes, I have.
you have. You remember the wedding? It was a good wedding.
I do
Good,
remember the
good
wedding.
reception. Yeah, we had a great time. We went on a cruise to with Royal Caribbean to St. Thomas, St. Martin, and then their little Cocoa Bay place, or not Cocoa Bay, yeah, maybe it's that, whatever their little island is.
Man,
So yeah, but it was a it's the largest ship in the world. It was called the Wonder of the Seas. Or it still is called that, but it was at that time as
that the one
well.
with the go-karts on it?
No go-karts, but it has a it's just huge. It was huge, but
Well, yeah, they're all floating hotels, man.
they are we survived though. But it was relaxing. We just kind of hung out and
You didn't
relaxed.
come
I
back
mean,
with COVID?
no, I mean, not that I know of. We'll see. Um,
Cough, cough.
and then right when I got back, then I had to go to Toronto for a trade show. So I just got back, and tomorrow I head to another one. So yeah, we've had some space out between our shows. So
Yeah.
thank you for your patience.
Yeah, we recorded a couple ahead of time, knowing that Landon was going to be out of the country, and so we've been spreading those out between then and now. Just a quick reminder, the Writers Guild, as of the time we are recording this on August 20th of 2023, the Writers Guild of America and the Screen Actors Guild are still on strike, and we are still in 100% support of that. And still in the description down below, you will be able to find a link if you would like to stand with these organizations as well. You can, if you feel like donating to some of the folks who are less fortunate and through this time are having difficulty paying their bills, keeping a roof over their head, keeping food on their kids' plates, by all
Yeah.
means, um, help
Just
them
as a
out.
reminder, real quick, again, we said this on another podcast of ours. Sometimes it's easy to think that these strikes are only affecting the super rich and the super famous, but that's just not the case. There are a lot of amazing, talented, up and coming actors and actresses who have worked very hard and put their lives and their everything on the line to be able to pursue their craft, and they don't make anything. And so these having these standards and being able to stand firm on making sure that the wages and the working conditions are fair and reasonable is the right thing. And so just if you're wondering about that, and you maybe thought as I once did long ago until I met some actor friends, man, there are some real people out there. Do some research, learn about them, and feel free to donate or just support. Absolutely.
Yeah, if you're in LA or New York, stop by one of those picket lines, drop off some cookies and sandwiches, honk as you drive by, whatever it is you can do to show your support. But as we said, we are standing in solidarity with the writers and the actors, and anyone else who is willing to walk that picket line with those good folks. So, all right. Well, today in our podcast, in our episode today, we are going to be discussing the golden age of animation with Disney. I know that's one of those companies that are being struck. Struck, is that the right? Stricken, stricken, striked, struck,
Strike it.
stricken, streaking. So that's one of those big conglomerates that they're out of touch, but we figured we can talk about movies from 1937, right? That's not out of the realm of possibility. So that's where we're at today. um So if you ask most folks on the internet, the history of Disney's animated features can be divided up into 7 distinct eras. I won't list them all, but in a previous episode, we did explore the Disney Renaissance that spanned from 1989's Little Mermaid to 1999's Tarzan. And today we're looking back at the Golden Age, which began with, of course, Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs in 1937. Now, if you've been paying attention to some of the things that have been on the internet recently, there's some hot conversation going on about the upcoming Snow White live action remake. Apparently, now I can't think of the actress's name who's playing Snow White. She has apparently said some things in interviews. Rachel Ziegler, she was in West Side Story. She's in the upcoming Hunger Games prequel. Apparently, she is playing the title character Snow White, and she has said a few things that have not gone over well with fans. And it's one of those things that's weird. It's fans who have complained about what she said are suddenly being labeled racist or
Hold on,
sexist.
what did she say?
Well, she is saying that this version of Snow White is not going to be like the 1937 version of Snow White. You know, she's not waiting for her prince to come. She is not some damsel in distress. And I don't think they're even having the Seven Dwarfs because I think they have decided that for some reason it's inappropriate to use the word dwarf. I don't know. Um, I have, part of I've really been paying attention to like the headlines and things that, and not really watched the interviews, but from what I gather, and if I'm wrong, listeners, viewers, be sure to jump in and leave your comments. I'm okay with that. But from what I gather, she said something along the lines of, it's this is a modern retelling of Snow White. I mean, obviously still taking place in that fairy tale age, but again, she's not just some damsel waiting for her prince to show up. This is a different version of a modern feminist version of Snow White. And what's gotten people up in arms is, there are some people out there who are saying in response, well, what's wrong with having, a princess who, maybe her goal is to find a husband and get married and, be that princess. Um, so I don't know. I don't know.
All right. Here's the exact quote, according to NBC News. Quote, I just mean that it's no longer 1937, Ziegler said. We absolutely wrote a Snow White that she's not going to be saved by the prince, and she's not going to be dreaming about true love. She's going to be dreaming about becoming the leader she knows she can be, and that her late father told her that she could be if she was fearless, fair, brave, and true. And then she said that at Extra TV that there's a big focus on Snow White's love story in the original film with a guy who literally stalks her. She called that part of the story weird and said they didn't do that this time. Quote, we have a different approach to what I'm sure a lot of people will assume is a love story just because we cast a guy in the movie. End quote. She said, it's really not about the love story at all, which is really, really wonderful. How interesting that she has such strong feelings after being in West Side Story.
I mean, isn't one of the key moments of Snow White the fact that she's like in a coma from eating an apple and the only cure is true love's kiss? Is am I wrong there? Is that
I think the truth is what we're going to find is that if you just pull yourself up by your bootstraps, you don't need true love's kiss. You just need to, find the courage within to be the woman that you've always wanted to be.
And then you'll just wake up from your coma.
Yes, that is
Okay.
yes.
Good. That'll be interesting. I won't go see it because I'm notorious for I hate live action remakes. I think they're stupid. But that's the kind of thing.
I think I'll find other reasons to not go see it, just based upon that.
I think you'll get trapped into it because you have kids.
I Yeah. But you know, I watched Mirror Mirror and I really enjoyed Mirror Mirror.
It's not the same though. It's not a live action remake. That is a completely different thing. This is Disney remaking
I
Snow,
know.
but they're not really remaking Snow White. If it's as different as she claims it is, this is a different movie. You can't call it a remake.
I think we have to remember that actors and actresses, as much as I have praised the value of actors and especially just a minute ago, let's just remember that if actors were in line with critics, I think we'd have a different understanding of how movies are. Like you can't go by that because every actor in their own method and craft of being able to become the character, do what they do, especially looking at their age, and how long they've actually been an actor, how long they've been doing stuff, their growth in their career. It's all very colored and changed, and affected by their experience. And so I don't know that I would put a whole lot of stock in even what Gal Gadot would say about the movie. You know what I mean? I
You're playing the evil queen, right?
Yeah, she's playing Evil Queen. I mean, I wouldn't. I when an actor says something about a movie that they're in, I'm like, meh, meh, meh. I mean, that's pretty much it. I mean, I don't. If a director talks about the movie or a story writer talks about a movie, then I'm going to pay more attention because they are in the guts of the vision of all of the characters, all of the scenes, all the cinematography. I have a better understanding of what they intend for the movie than what this little kid's saying.
You know what? I like to listen to what the executives at the studio say because they're the ones who have the final cut.
We
Just
all love
kidding.
to know what they think, right?
Ugh. They can take their opinions and shove them down the toilet. All right, so this golden age of animation marked a pivotal moment in cinematic history where animation evolved from short cartoons to feature-length films, which has rich storytelling. And during this time, creative decisions and technical innovations were highly influenced by the Great Depression and World War II. So, of course, we are starting with Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. We do have the dwarfs, we do have a prince, and accept it. Accept it, America. It was
we,
1937, and that's
we
what we
like them
wanted.
all. We like them all.
That's right. I mean, I will. Yeah, Snow White is a little. When you go back and watch it, it's not a kids movie. It's really not. There's some disturbing imagery happening there. Plus, let's also take into consideration that Snow White in this movie, 14 years old.
Oh, she's 14.
Yeah, yeah. And so when
Fine.
she's being stalked by that prince, that's a little, you know.
But let's
It
just
was a
remember,
different time.
we don't know how old he is. I mean, he could be 16.
Have you heard that baritone voice of his? He's got to be 25.
What are you doing? What's wrong with you?
Right. So, 1937. Yeah, this wasn't just Disney's first feature-length film, but it was also the first full-length cell animated feature in cinematic history. And for those outside the business, I want to explain the Academy Awards considers a feature-length film when it is at least 40 minutes long, which doesn't seem very long for feature length. So the Screen Actors Guild requires a minimum of 80 minutes. So there's that. I guess that's for award purposes. So a lot of the industry insiders of that particular era were skeptical about Disney's decision to produce this film, many calling it Disney's folly. Um,
Really?
yeah, so people were not expecting this to do well. Um, we mentioned that during this era, a lot of technical innovations came about. One of them was the multi-plane camera. This was a groundbreaking innovation that allowed for more dynamic, layered animation. So it looked like you had the illusion of depth in your field of vision there on the screen.
Okay.
And the meticulous attention to detail extended to the characters and the settings, which set the new standard for animation quality moving forward. Um, so give me your opinion. When's the last time you sat down and watched Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs?
I think I probably had my kids watch. It's had to have been like probably 7 or 8 years, maybe. Like I watched it, because my kids went through this stage where we watched some of those movies. But they it doesn't necessarily land with kids like I don't know, maybe because of the other things they get to see and the animation style and all that. There are some parts that I think that resonate with anyone. The hi ho, aspect. And then just the overall concept, the transformation of the queen giving up her beauty to become the witch, in order to kill Snow White. I mean, definitely some dark themes in it. So um yeah. I love the spread of characters. I don't think it's meant to be really in-depth analyzed or thought about as much as it's from the story. Is it a Grimm? Is it
Yeah,
a Yeah,
yeah,
it's the
Grimm's
Grimm
fairy
fairy
tales.
tale, right? So, anytime Disney does a spin on those or a Hans Christian Andersen or something like that, it's a fluffier version. It's a
Oh yeah, it's we get the term Disneyfied for a reason.
The mirror
These
always
movies.
freaked me out though. The mirror guy
Oh
with
yeah,
his face, his,
yeah, just that weird mask looking thing.
yeah, I don't like that.
Yeah. Yeah, and the transformation you mentioned of the queen turning into the old hag, that was scary. It was
Yeah.
a scary moment. I mean, she just and what does that accomplish, by the way? You want Snow White dead so you can be the most beautiful woman in the world, and you turn yourself
Sacrifice.
into an ugly old hag? Is this reversible? Like, is this a temporary fix? Because she dies as the hag.
She
I
dies.
mean,
Yeah,
I feel like it's counterproductive.
I do too.
If I was evil, I'd find some other way. There's just got to be another way.
But everybody knows that hag. I mean, that is a
Yeah,
that's the icon, right?
the
People
hooked
people remember.
nose, the
Yeah,
the
the hook
wart,
nose. Well,
the Palpatine like robe. She's
that's where George Lucas got his idea.
probably, yeah. I mean, he did take a lot of ideas from other things.
Do it.
Old serials and Japanese Kurosawa films, and of course Snow White.
Oh man, the prince is extremely forgettable to me. I
Plus,
identify,
he's on screen like 5 minutes.
yeah, I really more so when I think about like an epic tale of this era, I think about Sleeping Beauty. I mean, that's the one that I think about. Now I remember the dwarves and I remember all that from Snow White, but the battle, the songs of Sleeping Beauty totally overshadow this movie for me, 100%.
Well, it's a shame we're not going to be talking about Sleeping Beauty because that's in a completely different era of
Are you
history.
kidding?
I'm not kidding. No,
So what's that era called? If it's not the Golden Age.
man, no, I can't remember. I know. So this is the Golden Age. After this was the War years when they did basically like compilation type movies, where they strung a bunch of shorts together. Um, then there was the post-war era, which I think is where Sleeping Beauty lies.
Okay.
That's where you get Cinderella, you get
Pinocchio?
no. Pinocchio's next. Pinocchio was the second feature he did.
I'm just surprised. Okay, I get you. So, and I guess because Sleeping Beauty I'm seeing shows 1959.
Yeah.
Yeah. Why don't you list out the movies that we're talking about here? Because I'm like,
All right.
I
There's
it's
only
hard.
five.
Yeah.
So we start with Snow White, obviously. Next up we'll hit Pinocchio. After that is Fantasia, and then we have Dumbo and Bambi.
Dumbo and
So
Bam.
it's just those five movies that hit the golden age. And then like I said, World War II, was already happening during the golden age of animation, but it really took its toll on the studio, and just their ability to produce um really anything for several years there. And so But again, that's another era. We can talk about that in another episode. It's really interesting though to go back. There's um several I think documentaries you can find on Disney Plus that talk about the history of Disney's animation studios, the ups and the downs, and so it's really interesting to see and hear how they survived, because there have been several periods throughout the history of the studio where it looked like they were going to have to shut down, and
Yeah,
we may not have had all of these classic Disney movies that we think of.
yeah,
If Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs hadn't been a hit, they would have he wouldn't have done it anymore. You
right,
know,
right.
we never would have gotten Pinocchio. We wouldn't have gotten Fantasia. We wouldn't have gotten Frozen 2.
It's
Just
hard to
it's
imagine a world
crazy.
that did not have Frozen or Olaf for
I
that
know,
matter.
right? All right. So Pinocchio came out in 1940. This was 3 years later. It showcased Walt's commitment to pushing the boundaries of animation. The techniques used to animate water and smoke were pioneered in this film. This was water and smoke apparently were uh, very difficult things to draw in cell animation, and so they uh, made it to where it looked believable. Jiminy Cricket became an iconic character associated with Disney, appearing in various subsequent projects. Um, Themes of morality, temptation, and personal growth continue to resonate with audiences to this day.
Oh yeah,
And
yeah.
and despite today's acclaim for the movie, Pinocchio faced challenges upon release due to its dark and complex themes. I mean, how nightmare-inducing is it just to watch that kid turn into a donkey?
Oh my gosh. Yeah, the whole Pleasure Island scene was rough. I mean, it's but the idea, the whole concept uh about temptation, about association, about ambition, fame, pride. I mean, there's like it really was a great movie, continues to be a great movie to watch. I have always loved Pinocchio.
Yeah.
Um, and Jiminy Cricket, as the conscience, yeah, it's just all of us know that. When you wish upon a star, but man, Pleasure Island, that whole scene, oh man, kids drinking beer,
Smoking cigars. I don't think
smoking.
they'd be able to get away with that today. I haven't seen
Anyway,
the did you watch the live action version that hit Disney Plus last year
yeah,
with Tom
I did.
Hanks?
Yeah, I
Was it any
liked it.
good?
I thought so. I
Man,
thought it
again,
was
I avoid those
better.
things like the plague,
I
but
know. I thought it was better than other ones, other live actions.
yeah,
But then
there's
again,
been plenty of interpretations of the story.
they did good about like staying true or having the same kind of characters, that they've done. I didn't watch the Guillermo del Toro one that he did. But
Oh, yeah, on Netflix.
yeah, Netflix. I don't
I haven't seen that either.
so but the whole Geppetto aspect, I mean, the whale, um this guy who wants to have a son,
Yeah.
and then his son is gone from him, and then he goes looking for him, and ends up in a whale. I mean, it's just like, I mean, it's a really deep storyline, when you think about it.
Yeah.
Snow White's straightforward. You can go deeper into it if you want to, but this movie, you can't get around the fact that there are themes in this that really touch on some serious issues.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Kidnapping, I mean, abduction, imprisonment, trafficking. I mean, just whoa, whoa.
Yeah. And you got, I mean, seriously, you've got to think about the choices that Pinocchio makes. He's got Jiminy Cricket, yeah, that's supposed to be acting as his conscience to help him make the right decision. But you've also got, those was it Honest John? Was that the name of the fox?
Yeah, the Fox.
That is out there in the town and whispering, or not so much whispering, but telling Pinocchio, hey, this is
Manipulate.
this is a great idea for you to do. You should do this. And even with Jiminy Cricket telling him, no, don't follow, you go to school like you're supposed to, stay
Yeah.
with your father like you're supposed to. No,
Right.
Pinocchio keeps on making these horrible decisions.
Yeah.
And, being made of wood, obviously doesn't have much of a care about how his father would feel about it. Knowing that, okay, he's been now kidnapped by, was the puppeteer guy Stromboli?
Stromboli.
That was I could go for a good Stromboli right now.
That or calzone. The part about how naivety is not does not like mean innocence. How it's like just because he was new and there was suggestions to him and he didn't know any better, there was clear truths about what was right and wrong laid before him. And you just can't get away with not having consequences to ignoring the foundational truths. To me, there's a Christian element to this. That maybe it's because of me being a Christian, but when I watch the movie, I very much relate it to the Christian journey.
There's a philosophical argument that the knowledge of right and wrong is just an innate trait that we have as humans. And so, you've got this puppet who is, made in the image of his father. Um, Basically, he should still have that innate right versus wrong, and he's got the aid of a cricket who is apparently, you know, a a good conscience to have. I don't know. But one good thing about it is that yes, Pinocchio makes these awful decisions over and over again, but there are also consequences for his decisions.
Yeah,
And so it's not like, oh, he's just getting away scot free and everything's gonna be okay.
there's
You
clear
know,
consequences.
there are absolutely consequences to each one of these. And sure, the Blue Fairy shows up and helps him out at that one point to get away from Stromboli, but in the end, it very nearly costs him his life
Right,
to wind up doing the right thing.
right.
And so yeah, it's still to this day is a fascinating interpretation of the story of Pinocchio. And definitely I think it holds up very
Yeah, I do
well.
too. I do too. Well, and it's got true remorse and repentance and redemption in it. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that anybody who was involved in the Disney project or the original writers of the story, were thinking along a Christian line. Although I do think that we find Christian ethic infused in culture quite often, whether
Sure.
people intend for it to not. I just mean, like, for me, I look at it. I could see my kids can look at it, and there's something valuable for our philosophy and the way that we look at things. It'll always be a great movie. But yeah, so all right, so Fantasia.
Fantasia, same year,
So what
1940.
40 as well.
This was a daring experiment with the blending of animation and classical music designed to evoke emotion through visual storytelling. Each segment explores a different mood and artistic style, from the whimsy of Dance of the Hours to the intensity of Night on Bald Mountain. Dun, dun, dun. Again, trying to pioneer new innovations with each film, Fantasia introduced what they called Fantasound. It was a stereophonic sound system that enhanced the audience's experience. Initially, the film received mixed reviews and financial challenges due to the unconventional format, but has later gained recognition as a groundbreaking artistic endeavor.
Well, if you
Um,
do a show every night at Disney World, that'll help gain some, intrigue and interest into something that is for many people forgettable. Then at the same time, for some people, they'll laud it as being incredible. I always looked at it not like a movie. I looked at it like it was a special, like it was a fun, and maybe that's the way I saw it first time, on like the World of Disney or something. I loved the scene with Mickey and the brooms and all that stuff. I loved all that. the Mountain King thing, that was one of my most favorite scenes of the entire thing, because they used to show that as a clip. And this is probably why I see it more like a special, not a movie. But on the Disney Channel and on the Wonderful World of Disney that they do, they'd show little clips of things like this, just like at Halloween, they'd show just that little clip.
Hmm.
And it's so fun to watch. And that's kind of the way I look at it. I don't look at it like the whole thing. I don't think I ever, I mean, I'm sure I one or two times like sat through the whole thing, but I more so remember the clips piecemeal.
Yeah, definitely growing up, having access to the Disney Channel, when we were kids, that is something that Fantasia was never released on video. Well, not never. It was a
Later.
long time
Right.
before Fantasia was released on video. I remember it being a big deal when it finally was. I'm pretty sure our grandmother gave that to me for Christmas one year. And I was so excited because I'd never seen it from
All the
start
way
to
through.
finish
Okay. You
because
just saw the
like
clips like I did. Yeah.
you said, the only exposure I had to Fantasia was what we saw on the Disney Channel, where they would have the those afternoon half hour long shows that were either focused on Mickey Mouse or Donald Duck or whatever, but it was really like a half an hour of, we're going to show you three shorts,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
basically. Donald Duck versus Chip and Dale, or Pluto versus some mouse or something.
Right.
And they would show a clip from Fantasia, or really they'd take a 10-minute segment from any of these old classic movies. And but that was my only exposure to Fantasia all those
Yeah.
years. They'd show Night on Bald Mountain, they would show the hippos dancing, they would show the
Hate the
the
hippos.
Nutcracker Suite with
That was
the
great.
flowers and the mushrooms dancing and things. That was the only exposure we really had until it finally was released, because that wasn't one that they would re-release in the theaters. Disney for a long time, for decades, was famous for re-releasing their classic movies in the theater every 7 to 10 years, to let each generation have a chance to see it. But then they stopped doing that with the advent of the VHS, the DVD, and because everyone has access to these things at home now. So
Right.
what's the point in re-releasing these old movies? Even though I still think that's a great idea, because you can make money off of these things that you're not having to put any effort into making anymore.
Right.
You know,
Right.
and you're giving people a chance to see these old movies on the big screen. But anyway, yeah, when Fantasia finally came out on VHS, it was in one of those classic, like, you open up the big plastic case and there it is.
It was
But it wasn't white
huge.
like the rest of the
Right.
movies. It was a black case. It was like, oh, this is serious. This isn't some kids movie.
This is like going to the symphony,
That's right.
at the
That's
Roanoke
right.
Civic Center.
Uh, Even with the pops.
Oh, yeah.
Um,
Though, I mean, I never got into the real hype of it. I do remember going to Disney World and them having Fantasia and having the big show. And that was like a big deal. And that's probably when I think about it, it's like the clips, and then I think, oh yeah, the Disney music. But I never really looked at it like I don't even think I knew that there was like a full movie until that came out. Like until they came out with like the full thing. I just thought it was part of like a collection, like a Fantasia collection. I
right.
don't know. As much as like the like Looney Tunes, or I mean, it's just like or all the Mickey little cartoons that they would do. I just thought it was like one of those, but no, it was a bigger deal back at this time. So
It was a
um
big deal, and it was a flop. Like it really, it didn't make any money at the box office, which is probably why it was one of those that they did not continue to re-release every
yeah,
10 years or whatever.
push
But
out.
yeah, that so the fact that Fantasia did not do well at the box office really played into why Dumbo became what it became. Dumbo was intended to be a short. Like it wasn't supposed to be a feature length film, and it barely is. It barely makes it. It's I want to say it's like 45 minutes long. It's super short.
All right, I'm just gonna
Um,
say this about Dumbo, and then I don't know how other people feel about it or you feel about it, but I'm just gonna say this. There is one good thing about that movie. One. And it's the song Baby Mine. And
oh
that's
yeah,
it. That's it. The rest
yeah.
of it, I just rather I went and saw the live action too, hoping that maybe I missed something in my childhood that the live action would help redeem. And
Again,
it did
that one's. I
not.
don't feel like that's a remake. That's a completely different movie.
That's true. That's because there's not a lot to work with in the first one. You
You
don't have
got
enough to
40
work
minutes
with
of
to make a movie.
yeah. There's nothing there. How do you expand that into a 2.5 hour movie?
Oh, do you remember all this stuff that people got about the crows, like and free and just like the
All the
backlash?
racism.
Yeah, the racism. Oh my gosh. I
The
Dumbo is my least favorite Disney movie of all time.
Not just from this era, but like for all of it.
For all of it.
Wow. All right,
Yeah.
so
What else? I mean,
it is it is known for its simplicity. It still carries a powerful message about self-acceptance and inner strength, if you want to go there. Baby Mine and the emotional connection between Dumbo and his mother makes the sequence one of Disney's most touching to this day. Due to the constraints of World War II, the film's animation style was streamlined, resulting in a cost effective production. And despite its shorter length compared to other Disney films, Dumbo remains beloved for its heartfelt story. I'm more on your page though. I won't say it's my least favorite, but it's not one that like ranks up there and like something that I have to watch on repeat every few years or whatever. It's it's the Jim Belushi of Disney movies.
my wife would probably laugh at my response here because there's so many people who look at Dumbo and how cute Dumbo is and with the ear flops and falling all over himself and and I'm just like, yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's kind of just there. And yeah, there's the racism stuff and like especially not just with the crows and the way that they're depicted, but when the big top when the circus is being put together. I mean, it's clearly like the manual laborers are clearly meant to be a bunch of black men.
Yeah.
Um, and the way that the song that they sing while they're putting up the tent and everything is
Which bear in mind, I mean, there's two aspects of this. Is it true to that time? Probably.
yeah
Probably
you,
true to that time. Doesn't make it okay. And often has it makes it, the challenge with it is, and I don't think it's meant to promote it as much as it's almost it normalizes it in a way that we're not comfortable with today, and nor should we be. You know what I
right
mean? So back then I would imagine someone would be like, what? That's what it is.
yeah
They enjoy that. You know what I mean?
yeah
It's like,
well
yeah,
it's like
we're
anything else
wrong.
from that era like
Yeah,
you got Al Jolson putting on blackface and winning an Academy Award for it at that point.
right, right,
This is like at that point this is normalized, this is part of our culture. Again, doesn't mean it's okay, doesn't mean we should be okay with it now, 60, 70 years later, knowing what we know about history and about
right,
the culture of America and how the different races and different ethnicities in this country have been treated
right, right,
by the entertainment industry, by the
right.
government, by corporations, all of it. Like
By
this is
neighbors. I mean,
it's
yeah.
right. It is a completely different way. It would be it would be more upsetting to think that we watch something like Dumbo now and we're not bothered by these things.
Right, right. And I'm not one that believes that we should censor or stricken anything
Oh
ever.
no,
Like,
absolutely
because
not.
I would never like say we should stop this. And I would never say like that we should not read Tom Sawyer or Huck Finn or anything like that.
Right.
I think that all of those things are important to have. Do I think it's okay to have a disclaimer at the beginning of them, especially if kids are watching, so they can understand this movie depicts, elements of racism, and things like that? Yeah, I actually do. I think it's helpful because having some context, or having someone provide context in some of these movies and books is good so that you can come into it right, but
Absolutely. I agree with you 100% on that. That is, you're hitting the nail on the head. Um,
all right, well,
yeah.
Dumbo. So
Dumbo.
what's the next one?
So now we wrap things up in 1942 with Bambi. This marked a departure
Okay.
from fairy tales, embracing a more realistic approach to storytelling, characters, and environments. The film's use of animal behavior as reference for animation set a new standard for depicting the natural world in animation. The death of Bambi's mother, spoiler
Mother of
alert,
pearl.
is one of
Mm.
the most impactful moments in cinema history, a stark and emotional portrayal of loss, growth. Um, and while the movie faced challenges at the box office during wartime, again, World War II was on, it has since become a symbol of Disney's commitment to storytelling depth. One of my favorite lines from Friends, the television show, was there was an episode where they were giving Chandler a hard time because he didn't get emotional at movies. And somebody asked him, when Bambi's mother died, you didn't cry? Yeah, I was very sad when the animator stopped drawing the deer. Uh, but that said,
Heartless.
it actually is. It's a heavy moment.
It's a
Like it
heavy
is.
moment.
I
Well, and
mean,
the other side too is like you're not it's very lighthearted. I mean, Bambi on ice, and Thumper, who is like the ultimate sidekick. You have like this is the beginning of a good sidekick. I mean, there's a lot of great elements, and they're innocent and fun and cute, and then it gets pretty serious pretty quick. And I think faster than when you're watching it than you're ready for. It just and it doesn't stop. It doesn't get better. Doesn't work out. And the innocence of him discovering the reality, and the dread, I mean, you're just walking along that. I think people see it. It's if you have any empathy at all, you're putting yourself in the innocent's shoes and discovering this as if it was your own. And boy, when a movie can do that, when a movie can take you and put you right there, and you have such compassion or empathy, yeah, that'll make the waterworks come, except for Chandler. Yes.
apparently, statistic showed that 40% of people who would regularly go hunting quit after watching this movie.
No.
Not making that up. I'm completely making up that statistic. That is a complete lie. But wouldn't
Well,
that
I
be
don't
funny?
know. Disney had quite its effect on people. I mean,
Yeah.
no, man. I say this while I have some venison in my freezer that my neighbor gave me, just so we're all on the same
And it
page.
was delicious.
It is delicious. You take a Lipton's French onion soup packet, put an egg, and put some deer meat together. That'll make you a burger you will not forget in a wonderful way. Mm.
I'm actually not a fan of venison, but I think I know why I'm not, because
Bambi.
yeah, when I was in college, a friend of mine had gone hunting and they brought back some venison. And when they invited several of us over for dinner, it had turned,
Oh,
but
it's gamey.
it
Oh,
was it was not good, and I was sick the next day.
yeah.
So
One
yeah,
bite in, and one bite in. If
yeah,
you go one bite in, you taste it, and it tastes wrong. Don't swallow that bite. You got to have that meat go right in and go. Nope, and that's just it. That's
it
gone.
was it was bad. It was bad. Um, but but Bambi,
Yeah. Sorry, we had a
so
little
sad,
infomercial for venison
so
there.
so sad. You know, and then what it does for the venison industry. I mean, it's just bankrupted.
Some people just love
Um,
their jobs. Um,
this is another one. Like when I remember as a kid watching, this was one they would show clips of on the Disney Channel. Like you mentioned, the segment where he's ice skating
Yeah,
for the first time and he can't handle ice skating, but Thumper's super good at it. He'll show off.
yeah,
The scene where Thumper's trying to teach Bambi words
yeah,
and showing him, this is a
bird.
bird. Because no, it's a flower. Flower. Flower.
Yeah,
No,
it's so cute.
that's a skunk. He can call me Flower if he wants to.
Yeah. A lot of fun personalities. There were a lot of clips there. For a long time, I would make a reference if I wasn't good at something. I'd make fun of myself and say, "Yeah, I'm like Bambi on ice." It's just so memorable. Everybody remembers that scene with him flopping around on the
Yeah.
ice.
You
Oh my
just can't
god.
get your feet out from underneath yourself.
Oh no, no. But the funny thing is that it's not a movie that I've watched often, nor cared to like repeat watching or anything like that. I
Oh,
just,
it's depressing.
it's depressing. It's the clips were great again, just like on the Disney Channel, like we talked about. But beyond that, it was like, I don't think so. I think that did it. You know,
Yeah.
My,
Yeah.
there's
It's
movies
one.
like that.
I think I've only watched it all the way through, like just a handful of times. And I'll be honest, like past the part where Bambi's mom gets shot, like I have a hard time remembering how it
I
goes
have
after that.
no memory.
Like
I was
I
just
know
about to say that. I have no
I know
idea
they
what happens
jump
after.
I know there's a time jump and Bambi is an adult and he meets a doe and
A
has a
deer,
fight
a
with
female
another buck.
deer.
Yes, a female deer. Um yeah, he gets into a fight over her with another buck. Um
Right, right. It's coming back to me. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah, and I think there's a fire. Isn't there a forest fire at some
There
point?
was a fire. Yeah.
Um, but yeah, it's been so long. Like I just I could not tell you the sequence of events that leads to the ending of that movie.
I get to the mom. I just think about the mom. I've got Thumper with the words. I've got Bambi on ice, and I got the mom dying. And that's all I got. But I remember the fire too, because I also remember thinking that the way that the animation was with the fire was pretty rad. I remember thinking that. It's like when the forest is being taken over by in Fern Gully. Remember that?
I don't like to think about that.
I love Fern Gully. What?
But that giant smoke monster thing was super scary.
That's true, but you did like Fern Gully, right?
It was all right.
Thumbelina?
Oh gosh, no. Let's stop taking us into other animated studios, man. if it's if it's not so if we're gonna start talking about Don Bluth movies, all
I
right,
love Don Bluth.
We can talk
American
about American
Tail.
Tail, we can talk about Land Before Time, but anything past that, no.
Do
No.
you want to do a duet? We'll sing, you know.
No.
We should, shows have like their musical episode. We could have a musical. We could have a musical,
There's gotta be a
show.
compelling reason why it becomes a musical. I'm if I can't buy it as part of the plot, then we shouldn't do it.
All right, hey, offshoot real quick because I gotta know. Strange New Worlds, the music episode. Did you like it?
It was fantastic.
I did too. I thought it was great.
I
Oh my God.
I keep waiting for it to come out on Spotify so I can download the
Oh,
songs.
I know, I know.
Um
Sorry. All right,
no,
digress.
you're good. You're good. Yeah, one other thing I remember about Bambi, Thumper in particular, was he would get in trouble. He's got a big mouth. And this is where I learned the lesson. If you can't, what is it? If you
Are you
don't
sure
have
you learned it?
nothing good to say, don't say nothing at all or something like
Yeah.
that.
Are you sure you learned that lesson? Are you
No,
sure that's just not
absolutely
when
not.
you heard that lesson?
Maybe it's when I heard it and knew that it's supposed to be a thing,
Yeah,
but
but
in
not.
real life, my philosophy is if you don't have anything nice to say, come sit next to me.
That's the one. That's the one. Yeah, and I am not like that, between the two of us, unless we're talking about Shazam 2 or Blue Beetle. And
and
those
we're
two,
not. So, all right. So let's talk about the legacy of these movies. Collectively, they laid the foundation for Disney's storytelling legacy, shaping subsequent generations of animation and film. The techniques and innovations introduced during this era continue to influence animation production and creative processes. The film's popularity led to the establishment of Disney as a dominant force in animation and family entertainment. Dominant, I don't think I don't think that word covers it. I think Disney is like when you think of animated movies,
Disney.
do you not think of Disney first? I
Always
mean,
Disney.
most people
Always.
do. I mean, how many people would probably say that Anastasia was a Disney movie?
I think
Wasn't.
many people looking back would say Warner Brothers and think of Looney Tunes. They think of Looney Tunes and they think of Disney. But
Right.
when you think about movies, animated movies, it's
Mhm.
always Disney.
Yeah,
Always,
Disney.
always, always. And now we're at a new era with since we were growing up with Pixar and Illumination and all of that whole shift there. But and obviously some of those have been bought,
By
but
Disney.
right by Disney, right. But anything in real animation, the way that we know it, from drawing, yeah, Disney, 100%.
Yeah. So comparing the meticulous hand-drawn animation of the golden age to modern CGI techniques highlights the evolution of the medium. The enduring themes of self-discovery, morality, and growth in these classics resonate in today's animated films, bridging generations. Yeah, there's a big difference in the way that things were done as far as the hand-drawn animation style goes, back in the day compared to I would it's so funny when I was working with kids, especially like when I was doing children's ministry at my church, if we showed them one of these older Disney movies that was, your classic 2D hand-drawn animation, they would complain because it's not
Okay.
computer generated,
Right.
because this is a generation that has grown up with Pixar and with the
Right.
3D animation. Um,
Well, that's
if
one of
it's
the
not
reasons why I like the like what they've done with the Spider-Man across the Spider-Verse and all those, is because although I know that's still computer and stuff like that, we keep getting more and more advanced in CGI where everybody's just like, I want it to look real, I want it to look real, I want it to look real. And then you take someone who makes it artsy, comic booky, almost drawn. You know what I mean? And there's like a resurgence for that. I think not. Do I think people are going to go back to like hand drawing stuff? I don't. Probably not. You know what I mean? But people are drawing on computers now, and it's the same if you think about it because they're actually using stencils and doing so. You know?
yeah. Yeah, like I still consider that hand drawn. Like if you're using a stylus and you're drawing on an iPad or something,
Same
that's still
thing.
hand drawn.
Still. Yeah.
Whereas, whatever they're doing with something like Tangled or Frozen or Wreck-It Ralph, those types of movies, are strictly CGI. Yes, there is some obviously has to be drawing into it when you are initially creating these characters,
Right.
and yes, that I'm not discounting the creativity that goes into that at all. It's
Right.
impressive. But there's just something special, I think, about um that classic. I mean, when they would go behind the scenes again, these things on the Disney Channel growing up, they'd go behind the scenes of like the making of the Little Mermaid, and they'd show like this is the animator who is drawing Sebastian. The whole movie, this is the only guy who is drawing Sebastian. And it would show him like he would have page after page after page of like the minuscule movements that Sebastian would make throughout the like for each frame. And it's just like, man, who does that? And
Could you
he's
imagine?
literally drawing each one slightly different. So it looks like that Sebastian is conducting his orchestra. It's amazing.
It's amazing. It's amazing.
The best I can do is a stick figure pad of post-it notes down at the bottom and be like, "Oh, he tripped and fell." It's great.
I used to do that.
All right, so we've already talked about. I've got in my notes here personal connections and nostalgia. We've already shared plenty of that stuff,
I
haven't
think
we?
we have. Yeah. Did you have trivia?
Of course.
Thank you.
But most of these questions are about a lot of the things we've already talked about. So
Good. Then I'll do well.
it's more like a can you remember what we said 15 minutes ago kind of trivia.
Probably not. I had to mow my yard in the heat. So I don't have much left of me.
Dying. Okay. I actually have 9 questions. I'm going to randomly choose 5 because I'm gonna see like try to do a mix of let's just do them all, whatever. All right. What was the groundbreaking innovation used in Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs that gave depth to the animation? Do you remember that innovation and what it was called?
Gave depth,
Yeah.
like perspective, like
Yeah, like it made it look like there was depth to the scene.
oh, it's like layering or something, right? Didn't they like have a thing? I don't remember what it was called. I don't know what it's called, but I remember that I saw the making thing where they had like the thing and they laid it over on top of it.
Yeah,
You know, I
yeah,
remember that.
I've
But
seen
what was
that
it
too. Yeah,
called?
the multi-plane camera.
Multiplane. Okay.
All right, which character served as Pinocchio's conscience and became an iconic character for Disney?
Mel Blanc. Oh, sorry, Jimmy Cricket.
I know he was working for Warner Brothers at the time. What
He
are the
did. He was.
significant
He was him.
Mel Blanc? Yeah,
Yeah, wasn't he? Wasn't he the voice of Jimmy Cricket?
I don't think so.
He was in the movie. I remember seeing his name on there. I gotta
Maybe he
see.
was Jiminy Cricket.
Hold on, I gotta see
Huh.
now. Hold on. I gotta look it up
He was
now.
probably everybody
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so
because for
Pinocchio.
Warner Brothers, he was Bugs Bunny, he was
Yeah, he's
Porky
Bugs Bunny.
Pig, he
Hold
was
on, he was somebody. I remember it from long. Gideon. Who's Gideon? Gideon? Gideon was Honest John's other guy. He was the cat.
he's barely in it.
He was the one who hiccups. So Mel Blanc did the hiccups. There
Good,
you go.
good job, Mel.
I
Go
don't know. I just
do
remember
Bugs
seeing his
Bunny
name.
again.
All right, go ahead.
All right, what are the significant historical events that shaped the way films were made during Disney's golden age?
Say that again.
2. What
What?
are the significant historical events that shaped the way that films were made during Disney's golden age? 2 significant historical events. Mention
World
them at the
War
very
One?
beginning.
World War
Okay.
One?
No, but you're close.
Great Depression. World War Two.
Yes, Great
World
Depression
War
and World
Two
War
and the
II.
Great Depression.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which of these early animated features was called Disney's Folly by Hollywood insiders of the day?
Snow White.
That's right. Which Golden Age
Oh, it
film
was really
featured
Dumbo. It was really Dumbo, but they called it Snow White.
that was a folly? Which Golden Age film features a character named Chernabog who summons dark creatures?
Fantasia.
That's right. Night on Bald Mountain.
Yeah. Love it.
Can you
Love it.
name? Can you name all 7 dwarfs?
All right. Doc, Happy, Grumpy, Dopey, Sneezy, Bashful.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, oh, yeah. Are you doing this, sleepy? Sleepy. You gave me the hint. Look at you.
I did. All right. Yeah. Very good. Very good.
Oh yeah.
I At some point I memorized them
Yeah.
in a certain way.
Oh, and you
I
can do
have
it fast. I remember
yeah.
that.
I
You do
have to say
happy
it.
dippa 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 dippa.
Yeah, I have to say it in a certain way. Sleepy, sneezy, happy, grumpy, dopey, bashful, and doc.
Yeah. So yeah, I remember you used to do that
I don't know why it's stuck in my head that way, but that's how I remember them.
because you're a lunatic.
I'm
So
crazy. I am a crazy person. What was the name of the mouse who befriends Dumbo?
Ugh, who cares? God, I just remember him calling. Didn't he have a nickname for Dumbo? I can't remember. I don't remember what the mouse's name.
He got drunk.
Yeah,
He got Dumbo drunk.
yeah, that's the one.
He's a bad influence.
What was his name? I don't
Lied
know.
to him about that feather.
Do you remember his name, or did you just look this up?
I had to look it up.
Who was he?
Timothy Q. Mouse.
Yeah, yeah. Nobody
No
cares.
relation to Mickey or Minnie.
Nobody cares about Timothy Q. Mouse, the enabler.
He was. He was an enabler. True or false? Bambi is based on a novel by Austrian writer Felix Salten.
True.
That is true. Final question. Which sequence in Fantasia features Mickey Mouse?
The apprentice, the sorcerer's apprentice.
That's exactly right. Very good.
Sorcerer's apprentice.
I was
Yes.
going to give you the hint that it was a Nicolas Cage movie a few years ago. Um,
Also forgettable.
I like that movie.
Eh,
It was fun.
I like
Alfred
Ghost
Molina.
Rider more.
All right, so let's give you some recommendations if you're interested in learning more about the Golden Age. There are a couple of books that I will throw out there. One is The Animator's Survival Kit by Richard Williams. Sorry, that's the only book I'm going to mention. There's a documentary though called Walt and El Grupo that is very interesting as well. Um, so these films for sure have left an indelible mark on animation history, shaping Disney's legacy and inspiring generations of animators and storytellers. Landon, do you have any closing thoughts you'd like to throw out there about Disney's golden age?
No.
Yeah.
No,
Well
I mean,
said.
no.
Before we wrap things up, though, I do want to give a shout out to a commenter who popped up on Apple Podcasts in these last couple of weeks that we've been sort of on hiatus. His handle, if you will, is the movie nerd 1992. Do you know who that is?
No.
Me neither. He says, or she says, I'm not sure who the movie nerd 1992 is, but quote, more comics. I have found it interesting to listen to the comic book story recaps with DC's confusing continuity. Amen. It is very helpful for comic book readers. So thank you, the movie nerd 1992, for the 5-star review.
Yeah.
Thank you for the suggestion of we can talk about more comics. It's hard to tell what people like. We unless you give us comments like that.
Yeah.
And we definitely want to continue doing shows that people are going to listen to. So yeah, we will definitely work on doing more of these um comic book story reviews and really it's nostalgic for us
Oh
because
yeah.
these are the stories we grew up reading and collecting as kids, especially if you want to hear about DC. That's where we were. Marvel, I would love to be able to tell you more about that, but that's that would just be me doing
They,
research.
everybody's like a Marvel know-it-all now anyway.
I
You
know,
know,
right?
DC people are still trying to find meaning, so we could probably
we,
we can
we just want
comment.
a good movie to come out, that's all.
I do like how, because I'll refresh, I'll get a good refresher on it, especially when we did the Green Lantern. I like that, so we can learn and remember that kind of stuff. I also had a listener reach out and say that they had requests for us to do Star Trek Strange New Worlds, and Stranger Things. And so those are things that we might consider doing, and figuring out how we could do that, if we do like an episode of everything, or we broke it up by season, or we can talk about that and see what we could do. But I have heard you, and we'll see what we can do.
And I'm all about Strange New Worlds. I love that show.
Me too.
That's the best Star Trek that's been coming out in years.
I mean, it is up there to me with Next Generation.
Yeah,
It's there.
it's so well done, so well written, so
So
well acted. It is amazing. It's such a good show.
such a good show.
Um, Well, before we turn this into a Star Trek love in, again, thank you, the movie nerd, for that 5-star review. If you've enjoyed what you've heard today or seen on YouTube, help us out by giving us a like, hit that subscribe button, and don't forget to tell your friends about the podcasts, or at least the ones you really like. The folks you don't really care about, whatever. I
Whatever.
mean, if they listen, that's fine. We like the numbers, but the like, the subscribe, that really helps us out and helps us out with the algorithm. Apparently, I don't know. I don't know how that whole thing works, but yeah. Thanks for listening, and have a great whatever it is wherever you are.
See ya.